Hello, my name is Matthew, and there's been that recent discussion going on about Penguin classics that you wish existed. A great discussion video made by Michael K. Vaughan, which caught on, and lots of people started making videos talking about their own Penguin classics that they wish had existed. And that got me thinking about the Penguin classics I that exist that I already love, and I made a video just showing some Penguin classics that I have and that I like. And after I made that video talking on and on about Penguin classics, it made me think about Oxford World Classics, the other major reprint house. And so I spent some time just looking at my books and put together 10 or so books by Oxford World's Classics that I'm really happy about. Not necessarily any of my favorite books or books that I think are the best, but just books that I really like that Oxford World's Classics makes and publishes. And so I have a whole bunch of books that we'll just go through and I'll talk about why I like them. And they're all Oxford World's Classics. And the first one that I'll show is my old copy of the major works by Coleridge, and it's you can see that faded color. It's one of my favorite old books that I've spent so much time with. I found myself enamored with Coleridge early on, in my early 20s. The Rime of the Ancient Mariner and Kubla Khan. I read a biography, the great biography by Richard Holmes on Coleridge. And this has the whole of the, however you say it, the Biographia Literaria, his very strange long form essay, just him unwinding all of his thoughts. And it's all in here. And there's nothing particularly interesting about this copy except that I love it. But something that I like with Penguin and Oxford World Classics, a lot of these nice little touches aren't unique to any publishing house, but they also make selected poetry by Coleridge, which is a nice, slim, easy to handle volume of poetry. And so, depending on my mood, I have two options on how to enjoy Coleridge. Very similar to Coleridge, another author that was instrumental in me finding enjoyment in reading classic works is the major works of Oscar Wilde. And this has all the plays, it has some poetry, it has the picture of Dorian Gray, it has his essays in it, it has the Ballad of Reading Gaol, and I've spent so much time sitting with this book. It's been years now, but I have spent a lot of time with Oscar Wilde. Another one of my favorite, this is unique to the Oxford World Classics. This is one of my favorite books, and specifically this book. And it's the Karamazov brothers, which, if you've watched my channel, is one of my favorite books. And we have the cover here. But importantly, this is the translation by Ignat Avzi, who is one of my favorite Russian translators. And this is my favorite translation of the Karamazov brothers, which I get asked more often than I would really think that I would, but I always say Ignat Avzi, and that's part of the Oxford World's Classics. I just love that these reprint houses, Penguin and Oxford, make the Bible. This is the King James Version Bible, and it has the two columns per page, but it's treated as a literary work. It has an introduction. It has endnotes. You can go to the back of the book and read notes on things, and it's just treated like any Penguin or Oxford World Classic, and I just think it's brilliant. What I really like is that they also make the Gospels on its own. And so, very similar to the treatment of Coleridge and other authors, where you can have the major works, the collected works, the complete works, but then also curated specific parts of an author's work. And this is analogous to that. So depending on what you're interested in, Oxford World Classics gives you at least two different avenues. A little bit of a comparison between Penguin and Oxford. I just talked about the Philosophical Dictionary by Voltaire, which is obviously a Penguin classic, and Oxford makes their own, and it's a little bit slimmer, and theirs is called a Pocket Philosophical Dictionary. So I don't know if both of these are abridged. This one is, the Oxford is more abridged, if not. One of the elements of having multiple publishing houses that are reprinting these classics can be those editorial decisions on how the work is presented, and this will come up again, I think. Also, for me, reading works in translation and finding something that I'm interested in, I really appreciate finding other publishing houses that have other translations. And so this Pocket Philosophical Dictionary is translated by John Fletcher. The Penguin Classic is translated by Theodore Besterman. And I always just appreciate that, finding something and then reading different versions and deciding where my inclination lies. Sometimes it's really obvious, like the Karamazov brothers, and finding a translator that just really worked on me. Sometimes a translation can be just not for you. It can be off-putting. It can be creaky. It can sound like it's from a different era, whatever the case may be. You also have the possibility of finding just the right translator. And some other Oxford World Classics that now are not necessarily some of my favorite works, but just interesting books that they make. And so this is The Lives of the Poets by Samuel Johnson. It says a selection. And I read The Life of Samuel Johnson by Boswell like a year or two ago. And after spending so much time with Johnson, I was interested in actually reading what he wrote. And it turns out Johnson's not all that popular now, and maybe hasn't been very popular for a while. I do have a great big complete works or major works by Johnson, and unlike Wilde and Coleridge, it's unwieldy, not very friendly in the hand. I don't really want to pick it up very often, and so to have just one of his works that he's known for, apart from the dictionary, and this thing is great. It has his thoughts, essays on Dryden and Pope and Swift, and just some of the major English, Swift, Pope, Dryden, Rochester, Milton, and it's phenomenal. And I really am happy about this book. Penguin, I tend to feel like Penguin is maybe slightly more daring, imaginative, takes risks with editorial decisions. Oxford, I tend to feel, in my experience, is maybe a little bit more conservative, but they do try their own things in their way, and I think this is a great example. So, this is Swan in Love by Proust. So this is in Swan's Way. There's a section, a novel, novella length section, which can be read as a whole. You can just excise it out of the tremendously long remembrance of things past. I didn't pull it down, but it's that just concrete block of a thing. And Oxford made this brilliant decision to publish this as a standalone piece. And I found this maybe sometime this year, earlier this year. And for anybody that's interested in reading Proust and having feelings of intimidation, my typical answer to maybe alleviate some of that apprehension was usually, well, just read Swan in Love. Try Swan in Love. If you like it, you have more. Swan's Way. If you like Swan's Way, and it's maybe 400 pages or something like that. This is my new recommendation. If someone's interested in Proust, just read this slim 200-page work. If you like it, you know what you're getting. The rest of it is going to be very much like this. It's going to be a whole world in itself, but you get the idea. So I'm very happy that they make this. Brilliant decision. Just a preference. I'm showing this just because I really like this translator. This is The Wild Ass's Skin by Balzac. And this is translated by Helen Constantine. And she's one of my favorite translators. I first came across Helen Constantine reading Mademoiselle de Maupin by Gautier, which is a Penguin classic. And I was just blown away by her unctuous treatment of Gautier's work. That the feeling and the style was beautiful and rolling. And this is just another work of hers that is now in the Oxford World Classics, but The Wild Ass's Skin, which is very supernatural, and it's a psychological novel, and her translation is different than it's not the same style as Gautier, but it still has a signature pitch of beauty. One of my favorite novels, one of my favorite authors is Don Quixote by Cervantes. And to have such a singular, monumental, great work, one of the truly great works, it's natural to want to read more. What else has this author written? And I don't know everything that Cervantes has written. I don't know very much about his life. But it's surprising how scarce, how hard it is to find something else. And Oxford World Classics has his exemplary stories. This is my copy. And I love this thing. It's a collection of short stories by Cervantes, and they very much have a feel of being a part of the world of Don Quixote. So to have a great writer that had a major landmark novel, it's nice to have just a little bit more. So an author that I've kind of wrestled with one of those authors that um, I want to appreciate more and find um, entertainment and instruction and value in their work is Goethe, one of these huge names, like Cervantes, Cervantes and Goethe and Tolstoy and Shakespeare. Goethe's up there, and I've I haven't found that key. Now, the one thing by Goethe that is probably my favorite thing that I've read is this little novel, Elective Affinities, and um, it's nice that it's like a straightforward novel. It's not something strange. It's not Faust or Faust Part Two. His Italian journey I did find very interesting. That's just like a travel log with essays and digressions. It was his time going to Italy, but it is a work of fiction and novel form. Um, I was very happy when I found this. I'll share this just because it's a relatively recent purchase, sometime in the past 6 months. I spent a little bit of time with it, but it's the Selected Essays by Virginia Woolf, and I've read a handful of her novels. She's one of the greatest writers of the 20th century. Um, haven't spent very much time with her nonfiction, and so I'm just very happy that Oxford makes a collection of her, so far, brilliant essays. Maybe two more. I'm going to call this a 10 Oxford World Classics. I don't know how many. But this is Six Tragedies by Seneca. And the main reason that I'm showing this is also because of the translator. But it's translated by Emily Wilson. And so you might know that name because Emily Wilson a few years ago translated the Odyssey by Homer. I loved it. I thought it was a tremendously good translation, and I was surprised by this. This is something that she translated beforehand, I believe, and uh, I I really do like reading Seneca. Came across the tragedies and saw her name, and I thought, well, how interesting. I really do like kind of following the footsteps of different translators. It's a really interesting way of finding new, surprising things. Um, the last book I'll show is Three Tales by Flaubert. I'll end this video, like I ended the last one, by just saying that I love Flaubert. So a whole bunch of, I think, interesting, worthwhile books published by Oxford World's Classics. So let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know. Oh, actually, I had a point. So, I wanted to show this. So this is Horace, the complete odes and epodes, and then satires and epistles, Oxford World Classics. And when I first started reading Horace, it was the David Ferry translation. So this translation, and reading the epistles and the satires and the odes, I just found this new voice, this new author that just completely took me away. I love reading Horace. It's for 2 years now. Anytime I want to, anytime I just sit down and I don't really know, I more often than not will find myself just going back to Horace. And with that idea of translators in mind, I started looking up Penguin classics and Oxford classics just to read different translations, to find new things. And that brought me to Oxford World Classics, these, and then a very special book, Penguin Classics, and this is Horace in English. And what's interesting about this is it's a compendium of all of these different translations of Horace from ancient Rome to near present day, 19th, 20th century, where you can read Pope's translation, and then all of Dryden's translation, Samuel Johnson's translation, Wordsworth's translation, and you just get this whole different sense of this author traveling through time, going through this big taffy machine. And the point that I was sort of thinking about, and I'm trying to make, is instead of like imagining one publishing house to rule them all and how Penguin should be making all the books, this like plurality, or having all these different publishing houses making all of these different decisions and creating just such a dynamic reading landscape, I think is my favorite part, having all these different publishing houses doing all these different things and working together to benefit my reading experience. That's my point. Thank you for watching. It's Daphne. Let me know about what you think about any of these books, anything that you like, anything like that. So, she looks like an angel. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment if you would like. Thank you, and take care.